Correct.
Okay.
So we really need to come in place.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to get started in just a few minutes. We're going to give some folks a couple more minutes to get logged on, and then we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the front-end software developer information session. My name is Samantha Brill. I'm the program manager with Workforce Solutions at Lord Fairfax Community College. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We are joined this evening with quite a few other folks. We've got Nick joining us from Promeneo, and we've got Guy Curtis and Ramona and Julia, all from the Lord Fairfax Workforce Solutions team. So we will all be here to help answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nick to get you started.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll walk through kind of an industry synopsis and a program overview, and then this session is really for you to answer any questions. So at the end, feel free to jump in with any questions or type them in the chat. But yeah, in my background before joining Promeneo is in IT staffing. So I've placed hundreds of developers over the years, been with Promeneo about 2 years now. Our mission's affordable, accessible IT education. And if you've been looking into boot camps, the average cost of coding boot camps is about $13,500. So our mission's affordability. When we built the program, we came up with a curriculum advisory board. It's made up of mostly VPs and CTOs in the Phoenix IT industry. And when we built the program, we felt it best that students specialize in front end or back end development. So this course specializes specifically in front end software development. It's really built to get you an entry level interview or entry level job in the industry. And what it really does is kind of teaches you to become a problem solver. There's, a million different technologies out there. This kind of gives you the skills to prove that, you can learn new technologies quickly. And a way a lot of the course is taught is how you'd be asked questions in a technical interview. So the instructors are professional software engineers, and the way they teach the class, there's a lot of critical thinking. It is a difficult class. It's kind of like, here's a brick, here's some mortar. Okay, go build a wall. Okay, now you built a wall, go build out a room. So just a lot of critical thinking to kind of get you to where you need to be within that 18 weeks. In the industry, there's typically about 300,000 open computing positions in the US. There's a shortage of 1.4 million software developers in the US this year. The pandemic, I think, definitely slowed some hiring down, but we've really, the past 4 or 5 months, have seen it pick up quite a bit. And it's the fastest growing industry amongst all occupations, 21% growth rate through 2028. I think the second highest industry is like 4 or 5%. So I'm just a very fast growing industry, and there's just a shortage of software developers. The Virginia tech market specifically, right now there's total almost 9,000 total jobs posted. And when you break it down by hard skills, this is the front end program. So like there's 2,621 positions requiring JavaScript, software development, Git. GitHub is actually something we give you in the first week of class. It's where you store all your code. So that's something that hiring managers look at, called GitHub, kind of like creating a portfolio for yourself as you go through the class. Computer programming, 3,668 jobs requiring that. And then this pulls from all the locations: Arlington, Reston, McLean, Herndon, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Richmond, Chantilly, Fairfax, Alexandria, and Ashburn. And just here's some of the top employers in Virginia for IT. Program overview. So the program is 18 weeks long. It's broken down into 3 6-week courses. So the first course, and if these are kind of the technologies and skills you'd need for front-end software development. So intro to JavaScript, front-end technologies, so HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap are big ones, and then web app design with React. React is the front-end technology framework that's really taken over the industry. It used to be Angular and React were both up there, and then the past 5 years or so, React has really taken over, and that's what most technology companies are on. It's built for people with 0 previous coding experience. The only prerequisite to the class, we'd have you take a cognitive ability assessment. It's called the Wonderlic. So if you haven't taken that and you'd be interested in taking that, just let me know and we can get that over to you. But it's built so someone without any experience can get through the class. Class will be from Tuesday nights from 7 to 8:30. We use a flipped education teaching model. So what that means is you're basically kind of studying before you get to class. So we have a lot of pre-recorded videos and content that you'll be watching and familiarizing yourself with the concepts being taught that week. That way, the instructor in that hour and a half class time can really, we like to call them micro-tailored lectures. So they really dive into, okay, you already started learning the material, where do you need the most help? In addition to the hour and a half class time each week, you can book a 30-minute one-on-one mentor meeting. So we have a bench of mentors. A lot of them are top students that have gone through the program. Many of them have jobs in the industry now, but you can book a 30-minute one-on-one with them. They share their Calendly links, and you just work out a time that's best for you and them. It's anticipate, it is a tough course. Prepare to have about 15 to 20 hours of additional work each week, working on homeworks, project, and going through the curriculum. It's built so someone with a full-time job can do a lot of the work at their own pace. You do need to be in that hour and a half class session each week. we do record all these sessions, and then you actually do have access to other instructors teaching the same topic. So if you'd like to attend your class and, say there's a week where you're struggling, you can actually go watch a video of another instructor teach that same topic if you wanted to as well. There are career service assignments built throughout the course. So every other week, you're going to be working on a career service-based assignment. So week 1 is setting up your LinkedIn, and it kind of walks you through all these steps. And the last assignment is to actually apply for jobs. And then our career services team, if you need help with anything, interview prep, writing your resume, just job search related activities, you can reach out to the career services team, book a one-on-one meeting. We do hold career service office hours every Tuesday. And then we do have specific office hours for front-end development on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. This is just a picture of the LMS. So you join the course, you'll get added to the LMS. Just kind of gives you a layout of, what to expect each week. The flow of class is going to be the same every single week. These are the 9 career-based assignments. So LinkedIn, creating an elevator pitch, flashcards for interviews, attending a virtual meetup, writing your resume, and then finally applying to jobs. The system requirements for the class is a computer with an i5 processor and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Mac, PC, or Linux computers all work, but you wouldn't be able to get through with a Chromebook, so just no Chromebooks. Good internet access, it is all online. It is optional, but if you have a secondary monitor, that can be very helpful. A lot of students like to keep their work up on one screen and watch class on another screen. But we've had plenty of people just go through with a regular laptop. So it's not necessary, but can be helpful. And just a passion for learning and problem solving. This really teaches you to become a problem solver. So our student services team. So as I mentioned there, you can book a 30-minute mentor session each week. We highly recommend it. It's not required, but highly encouraged. We do have the office hours each week, career service office hours. And then if you're not familiar with Slack, it's kind of like an instant messaging tool. We have everyone connected on our general channel. So if you're having a problem and it's outside of, your mentor session or office hours, you submit a screenshot of your code into the Slack channel. And we highly encourage students to help each other. Usually if you just do that, you'll get a good amount of replies and kind of work through problems with fellow students. But we just invite you to fully commit to learning. And one thing we highly say is don't wait to ask for help. We have a lot of different ways to help. And, as soon as you're stuck, feel free to reach out to the team. This is just an example of the software you're going to download. It is all open source, free technology, kind of industry standard technology. So there's no textbooks. Everything will be loaded in the LMS. All the videos are there to watch. It doesn't take up much space. This is the front end program, 371 megabytes on your computer. So the first class will be orientation. Your instructor will walk you through downloading a lot of these tools, and then some of them you'll download later on throughout the course. And I will stop there. I know I kind of just threw out a lot there. Any questions? And feel free to jump in or send them in the chat.
So some of you may have questions regarding cost and different funding options. The bootcamp itself is $4,599. Depending on where you live, there may be some options for some locality funding. And Nick just shared the screen, how can you register, who to contact, please reach out and we can answer any questions that you have, should you come up with questions after this information session.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yeah, with the job stuff, is there any support for like helping people that want to freelance as opposed to work full-time or part-time for someone?
There's some websites out there for freelance work. It's tougher, I'd say, to get a job in the beginning as a freelancer. With front end, it might be there may be a little bit more opportunity, but typically my recommendation would be trying to get a full-time job, get a
Mhm.
year or two under your belt, and then transition to freelancing.
Okay.
You can definitely move up quickly in software development. Usually, 1 to 2 years. If you go into a company, kind of prove yourself, you kind of bump up to a mid-level developer pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I would think, just from my staffing industry experience, it'd be harder to get those freelance opportunities right off the bat coming out of the boot camp.
Okay. That's good to know. Thanks.
Nick, I just wanted to ask, you talked a little bit about getting jobs and, full-time work. Coming from a boot camp, is there sort of a cloud over that as opposed to going through a 4-year program or 2-year program?
No, boot camps have become very industry recognized. So when a hiring manager sees the boot camp certificate on your resume, they kind of are aware of, like, there's, I think, close to 40,000 boot camp graduates a year in the US. So boot camps, when I was in the staffing industry, kind of just popped up on the scene. It's a good way to transition careers and not have to go through a 4-year degree, get your foot in the industry. A lot of people continue on with their degree once they get a job, but it's just, there's such a shortage of software developers that it's just, boot camps have become very industry recognized. The couple of things I forgot to mention too, the last month or so, you'll be working on a capstone project. So you pick a topic of your choice, but you're going to be building a front end web application that's going to kind of tie everything you're learning together. So the project is something you can put on your resume. And then also that GitHub link is something software development managers are going to, like, that's the first thing they're going to go to is your GitHub, and they're going to go look at the code you've written and things you've worked on. And this is really teaching you, like, the goal for us is to get you an interview and get you to be able to pass a technical interview. That's like the hardest part of getting a job. And I will say this is probably, if you're transitioning careers, it's one of the harder jobs is getting your foot in the door. I kind of highly recommend, while you're going through the boot camp, start going to meetups, networking, because usually when you've probably gotten jobs in the past, you've been referred, or knew someone who knew someone that helped you get in the door. When you're transitioning careers, you don't really, unless you know people in the IT industry. I kind of preach, as you're going through the course, start connecting with other software developers in your area on LinkedIn. Start following the IT companies in your area. Go to those, like, becoming from, like, the networking groups are about once a month. So, just showing up once a month, getting your name out there, talking to people in the industry can be very helpful in landing that first job. Does that answer your question? And we've definitely seen it pick up. Our students have been getting jobs pretty much weekly the past 4 or 5 months. Like, the shortage of software developers is definitely we've noticed has picked up in the past 4 or 5 months coming out of the pandemic.
Nick, I have a question. Is this like a typical classroom where you meet for lectures, all the classmates, or is it like lessons that we go through and build a project upon it?
So it's not a traditional lecture class.
All right.
You're going to be learning the content and watching the videos before you get to class. That way, the instructor usually starts the class off saying, okay, what are you struggling with? What videos have you watched? How far are you? And where do you need the most help? So it's almost like you study before you get to class. That way the instructor can really customize like where they're spending the most time on the material.
All right. Thank you.
And that's essentially called a flipped education teaching model. We just found students learn the material a lot faster when they kind of get an understanding of it. And then that instructor's job is to really solidify the concepts you've already started to learn.
Okay, I have another question.
Yep.
I'm in the middle of getting my ITF, the IT fundamentals certification,
Yep.
but it's not over until the boot camp is over.
Yep.
Or I mean, it's over August 28th and the boot camp already starts. And since I'm working, I don't want to do two at once. So I'm probably going to have to wait until the spring to do this boot camp.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully it'll be offered again. But my question, I guess, is do you have any recommendations on things I could do in the meanwhile to help, just get a jump on things?
Yeah, so you can, if I go back to kind of these, if you just take these technologies and just start getting a understanding of what is JavaScript, HTML, CSS, React, just kind of get like a foundation of what those technologies are. And then
Okay.
there's a bunch of free resources online. So I think Free Code Camp is a pretty popular one
Okay.
that lets you kind of go on and play with some tools. But yeah, if you just Google like free front end coding tools, that's a good start to just kind of start familiarizing yourself. Or Free
Okay.
Code Academy, I think it's called, is
Yeah.
the kind
I
of
already have a lot of experience with HTML and CSS because I code ebooks,
Okay,
which are
perfect.
all HTML and CSS. So this helps me know where to branch out.
And another option too is in the meantime, while you wait for the next boot camp for the spring, is to go ahead and move on to the next section, which would be A+.
Okay.
Just to continue that pathway. So you have a good foundation of hardware, software.
Okay.
You can go ahead and knock that certification out.
Now, if I wanted to apply to take the next A+ or whatever, would I talk to you or to Julia or?
Either one.
Okay. All right. Do you think, Nick, I mean, do you know what's involved with the A+ and will that benefit somebody who's going to become a front end developer? Because it seems really hardware heavy.
I don't know. Samantha, do you know more about the A+?
Sure. So actually, A+ is a good healthy mix of hardware and software. While
Okay.
it may seem a little more heavy on the hardware in the beginning, there's so much information within the A+ that you do get to the software piece. And there's a lot of hands-on components. You'll get access to the CompTIA labs and Cert Master Practice. So it's always good to have that extra certification.
Mhm.
And then a side note is once you complete the CompTIA A+ certification, pass the class, pass the exam,
Yeah.
they do come with a guaranteed interview. So we do partner with multiple companies. So you have the option to interview with one of those companies. And it's just a quicker way to get your foot in the door.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm definitely consider that.
All right, anybody else have any other questions? Again, if you do come up with a question at the end or at another time, I'm gonna put my email in the chat box. Please feel free to reach out to me or give us a call.
I'll put my email in there as well.
Right, well, again, thank you everyone for joining us and taking the time to learn more about the Software Developer Bootcamp. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.